Hey, Armin here. Welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show, where we cover training, nutrition, supplementation strategies, and a whole lot more. So stand by. Hey, and welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Armin Eckelbarger.
I'm Frank Mills. Welcome to the show. We appreciate it very much, whether you're watching or listening. Thank you so much for doing so. Today, we have a great show for you. Today, we're going to be talking about most common fat loss misconceptions and myths.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of them. So we'll be talking about those. And also in the second half of the show, back to fan questions, answering your questions that you've been asking for a while, and we'll touch on those as well. So a lot to get to. And, Armin, this is an interesting topic, but a little controversial, right?
Well, it always is when you start talking about fat loss. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, it's really amazing to me how people are sold on these different concepts, and they actually want to argue about how correct they are. And
Yeah.
and then you look at them, it's like, well, you don't even look like you're lean. So why do you want to discuss and argue it? But
Right.
yeah, it is what it is. And so the more we can let people know, you want to dig a little deeper is what we're trying to say. If you don't want to
Right.
agree, you don't want to agree. That's fine. But at the end of the day, we're going to give you some good information. You can do what you want with it.
Right. Well, we did talk one time about eating fat. A lot of people think that causes fat, but I'm sure we'll get into a lot of that stuff. So what's first on the list today?
Well, the one I just irritates me the most is calories in and calories out.
Right.
You just got to be in a calorie deficit, and you're going to lose fat. Which, no, that's not what's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
well, you do hear that all the time. I know I've heard it quite often, but what are your thoughts? I mean, I could kind of tell by your little introduction there.
well, I mean, yeah, it sounds great, and it makes sense. Okay, because you're
Right.
getting rid of you're taking a number in, you're taking a number out. So if you do more of what you're taking out, it should subtract. But the question is a calorie regarding all foods? And unfortunately, no, it's not. And if you believe
Right.
that, well, then that's on you, and that's fine.
Right.
But that's not how it works. So, for example, when I say that, protein's 4 kilocalories per gram, but it's a much denser food, takes longer to break down. Then you
Okay.
have carbs, which is 4 kilocalories per gram, but it's a very less dense food. And then you have fats, which are 9 kilocalories per gram, but they don't burn at the same level as others. I mean, because they do not require as much energy to process. So that's another factor. And so
Gotcha.
a real simple example for people to really understand is if you're going to tell me 500 calories of potato chips is the same as 500 calories of eating some beef, uh, it's not. Okay, it's going to
Right.
break down totally differently, and 500 calories of beef isn't going to affect your insulin like 500 calories of chips is. And
Right.
so the insulin, unfortunately, it gets missed on all this, in my opinion. So,
Well, to me, just with common sense, if you just think about it, how you just explained it, there's no way that you could compare those two amounts of beef and chips to do the same thing or have the same effect. I mean, so that right there is a very strong, strong proof that it's not the same. But a lot of people are probably watching and going, "Well, do calories matter at all?" Then, what do you think?
okay, so here's the thing: when you're talking about losing body fat versus weight, there's
Mm-hmm.
two different things here. Yeah, you can lose weight being in a calorie deficit. And by the way, just because you're in a calorie deficit doesn't mean you're always going to lose weight. I
Right.
mean, look at the Biggest Loser and everything else that's out there. Okay, this doesn't work that simple. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so do calories matter? Yes, they do matter. Okay, we're not saying the calories don't matter, but just being in a calorie deficit does not mean you're losing body fat. And that's the whole thing we're trying to say here.
Right,
It's not
right.
true body fat. And if you really believe that, you're being misled totally, because it just doesn't work. That, I don't care what the nutritionists say or anybody else says, that doesn't mean you're losing body fat. All right, there's plenty to argue about that. So again, you know, the weight if you're losing weight, well, that can be water weight, that can be excess carbohydrate weight, and that could be actual muscle tissue to lose
Wow.
weight,
Yeah.
but not body fat. And that's the thing that I think people really need to understand. We're talking about fat burning here. We're not talking about losing weight. Anyways.
Right, right. So I'm sure a lot of people are asking a little more questions. So can you kind of dive a little deeper on why so that they understand?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, when you're eating carbohydrates on a regular basis, like
Mm-hmm.
most of North America does, because that's what people think you should be eating. They're not taking into account insulin at all, and I don't understand why they don't, but they're not. Insulin is a fat storage hormone, and so when insulin is elevated, you're not going to burn fat because it's elevated to start storing more fat.
Right,
And
right.
it's scientifically a fact. It's, it's not negotiable. Okay. So if you're going to burn fat, you've got to get insulin out of the way and let the body's energy system switch from burning carbohydrates and sugars or glucose to burning fat as the energy system. Now, if you're in a calorie deficit and you're burning fat, then yeah, you're going to be losing more body fat. So that's a good thing. But you got
Mm-hmm.
always got to be careful with your calorie deficits, understanding are you losing true quality uh, body fat, or are you just losing weight? So that's what I
Mm-hmm.
really want to argue about, because what we're talking about here is fat loss. Okay.
Gotcha.
Because
Gotcha.
that lasts a lot longer than weight loss.
Right, right. And I just want to kind of clarify something, and I believe that we talked about this, and if I'm wrong, tell me, but basically when you intake sugar,
Mhm.
it's telling your body to stop burning fat. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, what
Uh,
happens is if you have 5 grams or more of carbohydrate or sugar, you need insulin to come up to process the sugar or the carbohydrates.
okay.
So it gets pushed either into the muscle cells, which would be great, or the liver, or it's going to go to the fat cells. So any excess, if the muscles and the liver are full, any excess is going to go to the fat cells. And that's why people just spin their wheels doing cardio and other things, thinking they're burning fat, and they're not, because insulin's elevated.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, hopefully people get a good takeaway on that, because that's what's important. Because what we're suffering from most of society is insulin resistance because of all the
Mm-hmm.
elevated insulin. Because insulin, unfortunately, is toxic to the body if you keep it at a high level, and there's plenty of data to show
Mm-hmm.
that as well.
Well, to me too, it can explain that, you may have a great breakfast and a great lunch, but then if at dinner time and after you're intaking a lot of carbs and sugar, you're basically defeating what you did all day because you're in storing fat mode instead of fat burning mode. Is that correct?
Well, now there's a little difference there, though. Okay,
Okay.
so one of the things that would be interesting here for people to understand is if you stay low carb throughout the day and you do that consistently, you're going to be burning fat, because when you sleep at night, your body uses fat to help rebuild cells. It uses cholesterol to
Okay.
do that. So your insulin eventually drops down when you're sleeping, because you're not eating any more food. So
Right,
once it
right.
drops down, you actually are burning fat when you wake up. So if you keep your carbohydrates very minimal during the day, you're going to continue to burn fat. That process keeps going on. But as
Gotcha.
soon as you have 5 more grams of carbohydrates, then you're going to shut off the fat burning process for that point in time until like gets pushed into the system. So if you do it later in the evening and have a small carbohydrate meal,
Hmm.
now at least the insulin will come up and drop back down within a period of time, but it's not staying elevated throughout the day. That's the kind of key thing I want people to better understand. So,
Gotcha. No, no, that's some great information, Armin. Okay. So what's next?
all right. So another one, you see this everywhere in the media, is taking fat burning supplements. And you're thinking just by taking a supplement that it's going to automatically burn fat because of the way it's described. So
So kind of explain a little more about that. Exactly what do you mean so everybody knows?
okay, so fat burning supplements can help initiate or mobilize fat in your system. It can do that, okay?
Okay.
But if you're not doing any activity to burn that off, okay,
Right.
whatever it's going to be, being active, training, whatever you're going to do, then it's not going to get oxidized. But it's not going to get oxidized at all. It's just going to come right back and go right back. It's going to come out of the fat cell because it's mobilized, and then it's going to come right back and go right back in the fat cell. So why bother? Okay.
Right. Right.
So you need to increase your oxygen activity with just being active for that to really do its effect. And obviously, exercise can help burn more oxygen through exercise. So that's how fat burning can help. Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
just taking it, assuming it's just going to melt fat away, you're kidding yourself. Okay,
Right. Right.
and it's just not going to happen. So that's the thing you want to understand about fat burners.
Okay. What's next on the list?
All right, so thinking that you're just going to exercise, whether it's cardio, weight training, whatever it's going to be, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
burn fat, burn the fat off, and that's what you see a lot of people, being told or led to believe, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, I'm sure people have heard the saying, or I'm going to repeat it anyways. You're not going to out train a poor diet. I mean, it's an
Right.
absolute fact. If you go out and do it with a treadmill for an hour and then come back and eat a bunch of carbohydrates, all you're doing is burning the carbohydrates you ate earlier. Now you're reloading them again. So again, you're not burning any fat. So you're
Mm-hmm.
spinning your wheels. And this also causes yo-yo dieting because of the way you're doing it. So exercise can help, but it's not going to help to lose body fat if you're not eating in a method to do that. So people
Gotcha.
think, well, just go out and exercise and I'll start burning it off. It helps to burn some energy, but it's not going to burn off the body fat unless you're eating in a way to do that. And Vince knew this, and that's why he promoted the things the way he did because he got the
Mm-hmm.
results. So, anyways,
No, that's good. All right. So what's another one that you have?
well, the one I've heard multiple times, which I found just very ridiculous, is Uh, I've seen different posts, and it's all I see them all the time. But it says
Right.
like this post would say carbs don't burn fat, or carbs don't make you fat. Calories make you fat. That's how it
Oh,
works, uh,
okay.
and that's absolutely clueless. Okay, and whoever says that, and again, it's people that think they know something about nutrition and they don't. Okay, you have to understand, just because you're eating excess calories, is that a factor? Could be. Okay.
Right. Right.
But just saying that one particular food doesn't make you fat, I mean, again, it boils down to how you're managing insulin and how you're eating to burn fat as an energy system. So,
Gotcha.
anyways,
Gotcha. No, no, that's good stuff. Um, I actually worked with a guy, and his breakfast was like all sugary stuff, like donuts and sugar in his coffee.
yeah,
And then at lunch, he would go have, like maybe fast food with a shake. And then at dinner, he would have a nice dinner, but then he'd have like a bowl of ice cream or something. And then he's wondering, why am I not losing weight? I said, because you keep turning off your fat burning with the sugar.
well, yeah, I
So,
mean, it's just that's how it
but
works.
anyway, all right. All right. So what else you got for us, Armin?
Okay, so like then you see these other researchers or so-called experts that are trying to say that insulin has no effect on body fat. Uh, I mean, really, just take a look around. Look at our society. Look how
Right.
heavy they are. And
Right.
you're
Right.
telling me that insulin has nothing to do with that when it's a fat storage hormone? I mean, and so they're like, well, it's all about portion control. All right, well, portion control has some value, but it depends on what you're controlling.
Right. Right.
If you're just because you're eating less carbohydrates doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be burning fat. Okay, so again, these are fat burning strategies we're talking about, not losing weight. I mean, yeah, you can lose some weight on a calorie restricted diet eating carbohydrates, but is it quality weight? Is it body fat, or is it you're burning off what we mentioned before? So
Mm-hmm.
that was another one I just think was just ridiculous. So
Well, I guess we're running low on time. What else do you have for us?
all right, so another one that's heavily promoted, especially these new trainers of the stars, so to speak, like we've talked about in the
Oh,
past, is
yeah. Yeah.
you need to eat more often. You're not eating
Hmm.
enough. which is ridiculous. Okay, you need to be eating every 2 or 3 hours, because
Right.
that helps to burn more calories. Every time you eat, you burn calories. Okay, that's not true. Okay, you still got to burn off the stuff you're eating. Okay, but also, are you eating to burn fat? So you don't need to be eating that often. Okay, so number one, that causes a lot of stress on your digestive tract, which isn't good. All right, and then you still got to burn the energy off. So uh, this small meal thing is just not cutting it. And the other thing, the bottom line is, how do you do that in a day? How do you eat 6 and 7 meals and try to
Right.
work?
Right.
How realistic is that? It's just ridiculous. So
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that. And if somebody's feeling like that's what they got to do, then fine. That's fine. Do that. I don't have to do that. I did that for a period of time. Realized this isn't really workable, and it didn't make any difference either. So that's just me. Now you got bodybuilders that they're taking insulin, they're doing all kinds of drugs and stuff. They're
Right.
doing it.
Right.
Okay, well that's what they're doing full time. That's not even healthy. It's not healthy. Look at the bodybuilders dropping like flies because of some of the
Mm-hmm.
things you're doing. Okay, so that's not healthy activity. So I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, you need to be eating. Now I'm okay with taking supplements to help supplement your protein intake, but eating 6 and 7 meals a day to supposedly burn more energy and burn body fat is not true.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, we're getting short on time here. What about the fat argument? Do you have anything for us on that, and gosh, what else do you have before we wrap up the segment?
All right. Well, Vince put this one out there. I mean, and he said you need to eat fat to burn fat. Just because you're eating fat does not make you fat, but it's a natural, well, if you eat fat, it's going to make you fat. And so people think that, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not. Okay. So that's the thing and as he put it as well as you could put it. So, um, and there's plenty of studies that confirm this as well. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
by what you're doing. So don't think eating fat is going to cause you to be fat. That's just ridiculous.
So, Armin, we've heard about all of the things that we shouldn't do. What's your recommendation as we end the segment here?
All right. Well, so my opinion, when it comes to burning fat, you'd be better off tracking your carbohydrate intake and understanding again that insulin is a fat storage hormone.
Mm-hmm.
And so you keep insulin down, you're going to have a much healthier long-term strategy because it can help reduce the likelihood of becoming insulin resistance, which is a huge problem, and
Right.
it'll cause
Right.
you to become diabetic. So that's important. And don't get me wrong, you still need some carbohydrates, but okay, you just need to make sure you're taking them more strategically so you don't have that excess that keeps getting stored as fat. And if you're wanting to maintain healthy body fat levels, that would be the approach that I think you should be focused on, is tracking that. You still need the carbs, but just use the carbs more strategically on how they're going to work for you. Anyway, so
No, excellent information. So, everybody monitor your sugar and burn more fat. That's what I got out of that, right? That's a great
oh,
way
there
to
you go.
go. All right. Everybody, thanks for watching the first segment. Stand by for some fan questions and feedback from NSP Nutrition viewers and listeners. So thank you for that. But stand by. You're going to have a quick word from NSP, and Arm and I will be right back.
Hey, and welcome back to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Armin Eckelbarger.
I'm Frank Mills, and thank you for watching and listening. Before we get started, we've got some new products on the NSP Nutrition website. And
Yeah.
Arm and I clicked on there today and I see Prostate Plus. What's
Yeah.
that all about?
Well, as you get older, what happens is that the prostate's going to slowly start to enlarge. And so, what can cause the symptom of that is cause you to pee more often. Now, it doesn't always mean it's your prostate that's causing that, but I mean, if you um, go to the doctor and have your levels checked and your PSA is a little elevated or something like that, then this is a good product that you can take naturally to help manage that. It's just certain herbs that really affect to keep the swelling down in the prostate. So the better you do that,
Gotcha.
then less likely to pee more often, and keep it from getting inflamed as well. So it's a good product. So give it a try if you're kind of dealing with that, or if you have elevate, starting to see elevations in your PSA, to see if it helps with some of the swelling.
Awesome. Good job, Armin. Thanks for the info. And let's move on with the show. Now, we've got fan questions and feedback. I guess what I should say, because we have gotten a lot of information back. And, the first thing we got here, Armin, was first of all, thanks for what you guys are doing. Very informative. So we appreciate that. It's from HP.
Great.
And
Okay.
HP, we appreciate that. But HP wondered, Armin, maybe on an upcoming episode, or if you have some feedback now, if you could discuss Vince's thoughts on HIT a little bit more, and also use the Nautilus machines. Did Vince ever use Nautilus machines, and what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I can't really tell you if Vince ever used Nautilus machines, because I was never around him or anything, but I think what Vince's viewpoint was on a lot of machines, he didn't really care because the machines he had worked. So it wasn't a lot of need for him to go out and want to even consider using other machines. Did he ever try them? I don't know. He may have, but I like them. I like the Nautilus machines. I think the old ones were well made, and the
Mm-hmm.
new ones are well made. So I'm a fan
Gotcha.
of their equipment because I feel it's more dialed in for the muscles. So I like pretty much all their products. And the same
Hmm.
thing with Hammer Equipment, which was Arthur Jones's son. He helped to create that product line. So those are two good, strong product lines in my viewpoint. So
Okay.
now,
Well.
as far as hit,
Mm-hmm.
I think that you know Vince kind of liked the concept, but he didn't really feel like really exhausting the muscle. He felt like maybe leaving 1 or 2 reps in the tank just for the help of recovery. So I think his viewpoint was more into that. He did make comments that he thought that wasn't a bad thing if you're going to take it to failure, but he just didn't, from what I could tell, care to go down that road. I mean, hit actually came from Mike Mincer and his heavy
Mm-hmm.
duty training, which I've done. And there's, like everything else, there's pluses and minuses to all those strategies,
Mm-hmm.
and they all work to some degree. So, not against any of them. Again, I think the machine thing, there's good ones that are made, and those brands, I like them. So that's kind
Okay.
of my take on it.
All right. Well, HP, thank you for the feedback and the good questions. We definitely appreciate it. Next one, Armin, is from John Grantland. And he asks, which era of bodybuilding does classic physique mirror? Bronze, silver, or golden? Do you know that?
That's a pretty good question. I would say classic physique is going to be golden era, more along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
To me, anyways. I mean, it's kind of a judgment call, but in the earlier before that, before the golden era, there was some great physiques, but they were still kind of not as lean. That's where Vince, started
Right,
bringing the
right.
leanest strategy. So when Vince got in the game, then I think you started seeing more of that. So Frank Zane and those types of physiques are going to be your classic physiques. Samir Banut and these types of people. Uh, Robbie Robinson had what I would say is a really good classic physique. Again, good muscle, but great
Mm-hmm.
shape, definition,
Mm-hmm.
symmetry, that kind of stuff. So
Gotcha.
my thoughts as a golden era would be more classic physique.
Okay. All right, John, thank you so much for your question. Next one up is from Ali Al-Bayati, and hopefully I didn't wreck that, Ali. I apologize. I did my best. Armin, Ali is saying, so I can take a protein shake instead of a BCAA pre-workout? Question mark. And what about taking carbs intra-workout to push nutrients into muscles while training? What do you
Okay,
got?
well, that's a pretty fair question.
Okay.
I'm not a BCAA fan because you need all the essential amino acids to help with protein synthesis. Just taking branch change is not going to do that for you. It's high in leucine, which is a good thing, but that's only
Mm-hmm.
going to do so much for you. So it's kind of a waste of money, in my opinion, on the branch chain. So I'd have the protein shake, but I have it probably, an hour before, but I don't want to have any insulin flowing. So he's talking about taking some carbs in when he's training. I like to just train as is because I don't want insulin to be involved with the receptor sites of the cells when the hormones are being secreted when you train. Now, with that being said, after I get done training, because I am lean, I'll have some carbohydrates, high glycemic carbohydrates, within about 30 to 45 minutes after I train to get some insulin because I've already broken down the muscle. So I
Mm-hmm.
want some insulin to help reload the muscles with the nutrients that I'm eating. So I'll have some protein and then some high glycemic carbs. It doesn't need to be a lot of high glycemic carbs, like 15 to 20 grams can actually be all you need because it's going to give you the insulin spike. But then when that insulin drops right back down, then you're back in the fat burning mode. But you use the insulin to help push the nutrients into the cells. So that's a good strategy to
Hmm.
me.
Okay. Ali, great question. And thank you for the feedback. We appreciate you watching or listening, whichever you do. Armin, next one up is Owen. And
Mm-hmm.
Owen says, he got in his order of protein from NSP Nutrition, milk and egg protein, and
Okay.
he also got amino acids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he wanted to ask you if you could give him an idea of the best times to take his amino acid supplement on training days so he can get, a good result. And he's from Australia. So, Owen,
Okay.
thanks you again for watching. We appreciate it.
All right. The way I like using amino acids for training is I take them right before I train. So I'll take about 6 tablets or capsules, depending on what product we have going on at the time. I take those before I work out because that gets me all the essential amino acids floating in my bloodstream as I'm breaking down muscle so that when I start to rebuild, having food when I get done training, I have those amino acids available. So that's one thing I like to do. The other thing I'll do if I'm not going to do beef liver, then I'll do amino acids in between meals to kind of, again, keep the essential amino acids up so that I can keep protein synthesis happening at the full level throughout the day. So I would take them in between breakfast and lunch and then take them in between lunch and dinner. And you can also take them before bed too. All that boils down is to money and your budget. So
Mm-hmm. Right.
and again, you don't need to take too many, but at the same time, you're just using enough to have it in your bloodstream so you're getting some effect from it. So, and that's always a fine tuning process too. Hopefully
Mm-hmm.
that helps.
Mm-hmm. All right, Owen, thank you so much. Last question, Armin. Well, it's more of a suggestion.
Okay.
And I know you've talked about this. I don't know if you have this in the works or not, but this is from Edward. Edward, I'm not going to attempt your last name because it's a tough one. Edward M, we'll just say that. Edward
Oh,
is asking if we could do a kitchen segment show
oh yeah. Okay.
and
Yeah.
show some of Vince's recipes, shake recipes, that kind of stuff. Now, Armin, I know you've talked about uh, on via your own company, Elite Exec Method, of actually having a couple of those videos. We're not in a kitchen here. You and I actually do this show separately. Armin's in another place. He and I are together, but we do this. Uh,
Yeah.
it's something that maybe we could put together and do a special. I know there's going to be some special content coming. I'm not going to say any
Mm-hmm.
more than that. But, what do you think? Do you think NSP's up for that? Or is that something you have in the works? Any
Well,
suggestions, ideas?
Eddie's mentioned that to me before,
Okay.
and there's a lot of different posts, and I agree with him. It's just that we're just got to figure it out. Is what we're going to need to do. So I have got some new things regarding my video that my camera that I can use. So
Mm-hmm.
it's something that's been on the radar. I just have to execute it at this point. So I've got this little thing that kind of it has a 360 viewpoint apparatus that runs on a battery. So when I put the phone in, it'll kind of follow me around. That's kind of what I needed because I don't have the camera crew and all this other stuff handy. So I gotta
Right.
gotta get kind of creative on it, you know.
Well, he did mention that he has watched every single one of our shows.
Oh yeah, he's a huge fan. The guy's awesome. And he knows Vince's methods inside and out too. I mean,
All right.
he's been a follower for a tremendously long time.
Well, he said to thank us for the great advice and information. He said it's good from the beginner, if you're beginning or if you're advanced. But he did ask us if we would do more shows on nutrition. Now,
Okay.
nutrition we know is what the foundation of any good workout plan or whatever we're going to do.
Right.
What more can we do on nutrition? You know, maybe we need some more questions on what you'd like to see for nutrition, whether it's you,
Well,
Edward,
yeah,
or somebody else. What do you think, Armin?
yeah, that'd be helpful because I mean we're gonna make a decision based on what we think you want, but that may not be what's going to
Right.
help, you know.
Right.
So yeah, definitely.
All right. So get your questions in about nutrition or anything else, and
Yeah,
Armin and
that'd be
I
great.
will be glad to offer the feedback answer. The best way for this segment to keep going is you guys to keep giving us content, and we
Yeah.
appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Armin, it's really like the lifeline of the segment, right?
Well, it definitely helps. I can be putting stuff together, but if it's not stuff you want to hear about, then that doesn't help matter. So we're trying to give you stuff that you want to hear about. So, but we do need some specifics. It can't just be a vague statement because there's just so much to know, and there's just
Yeah,
so much out. There's so much out there you have to filter to get to the real answers. I mean, so that's what takes time.
absolutely. And the other thing is Armin and I did a lot of shows on Frank Mills Reality Fitness.
Yeah.
I think we did 6 or 8 episodes on just hormones, Armin. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Yeah.
we did energy drinks. We've talked about a lot of different topics. So we're
Right.
open to talking about anything that you guys want to hear about. And the best way to do that is contact us. So scan those QR codes. You can contact us that way. You can also comment in YouTube. That's where a lot of these comments are coming from. Either
Yeah.
that or email. Email is support@nspnutrition.com. And we definitely want to hear from you. And Armin, another great show, man. Great job. Thank you.
Well, hopefully everybody else liked it. So.
Well, hopefully so. For all of you that have subscribed, thank you for doing
Yeah,
so.
appreciate the support. Yep.
We ask that if you could or would share with your friends or family. We'd appreciate that very much. And join Armin and I next week for a brand new episode of the NSP Nutrition Show.
Hey, thanks for checking out the NSP show. Go to nspnutrition.com where you can find a whole heap of resources to help you achieve stunning definition and eye-popping levels of muscularity. Don't forget you can save 10% on your first order by using the code NSP show at the checkout. Catch you next time.